I want you to take a deep breath before you listen to what I'm about to say, because this isn't the kind of message you hear every day. This isn't a speech from a politician. This isn't a promotion, a sponsorship, a brand deal, or some marketing tactic disguised as generosity. What I'm about to tell you is the result of a moment that changed me so deeply, so suddenly, that even I'm still trying to understand the shift inside me. But I know this. When something inside you changes, when your heart suddenly whispers a truth you can't ignore, you have two choices. You can push it down, pretend you didn't hear it, continue life as usual, or you can listen. You can obey that voice. You can let it pull you in a direction that terrifies you, humbles you, stretches you, and ultimately transforms you. Last night, I listened. Last night, a decision rose in my chest like a wave and refused to settle. And because of that decision, something extraordinary is going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, my assistant will knock on your door, not to sell you something, not to convince you of anything, not to hand you a flyer, a brochure, or some marketing pitch. Tomorrow, my assistant will knock on your door for one reason, one shocking, unbelievable, impossible to ignore reason: to hand you money. Real money. Actual help. Relief you can touch. Hope you can hold. I don't know what you're struggling with right now. Maybe it's medical bills that keep arriving like waves you can't outrun. Maybe it's rent you're behind on, that constant fear of an eviction notice taped to your door. Maybe it's your car breaking down at the worst possible moment, right when you needed to get to work, and suddenly a simple repair turned into a crisis. Maybe it's a debt you've carried for years, a weight so heavy that it suffocates every breath, every thought, every hope for a better tomorrow. Whatever it is, I'm going to help you. And before anyone assumes otherwise, no, this is not a joke. This isn't clickbait. This isn't something I'm doing for entertainment or for views or for recognition. This is something I'm doing because I made a decision that startled even me. A decision that grew inside me as I stared at the ceiling last night, in the darkness, while everyone else slept. It was a quiet thought at first, a simple whisper, but then it got louder, and louder, and louder, until finally, I sat up and realized I couldn't ignore it anymore. Life is short. Those three words might sound simple, almost cliché, almost too familiar to feel powerful. But when you feel them in your bones, when they stop being words and become a truth that grips your chest, everything changes. Life is short, and money, no matter how important society makes it seem, only matters when you use it for something meaningful, something human, something real. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, not later, not after the video, not when you feel ready or comfortable. Right now, I want you to comment below with exactly how much you need and why you need it. Be honest. Be specific. Don't try to impress me. Don't try to manipulate the story to make it sound dramatic. Just be real. Just tell the truth. Because the truth is enough. The truth is always enough. If you need $2,000 for medical bills, right? $2,000 medical bills. If you need $500 for a car repair, right? $500 car repair. If you need $800 because rent is overdue and eviction is days away, right? $800 rent. If you need $1,200 because your car broke down and without it you can't get to work, right? $1,200 car broke down. Whatever it is, whatever heavy, suffocating, exhausting, overwhelming financial burden you're carrying, just write it. Don't be ashamed. Don't minimize your struggle. Don't pretend you're fine when you're not. This moment, right here, might be the moment your life changes. This might be the moment the weight gets lifted, the storm calms, the pressure eases, the fear dissolves. This might be the moment that tomorrow becomes something brighter than you expected. Because tomorrow morning, my assistants, real people, not actors, not scammers, not bots, not pre-recorded nonsense. Real people with proper identification will start knocking on doors. They will knock on your door. They will verify who you are. They will verify what you wrote. They'll ask you about your situation. They'll talk to you like a human being. And if your need is real, if your situation is genuine, they will hand you the exact amount you asked for. Not a portion, not a discount, not a "we'll help you next month." No delays, no interest, no paperwork, no repayment, no strings. Just help, just relief, just support when you need it most. Let me repeat that because I want it to sink in. Cash or check, your choice. No paperwork, no repayment, no contracts, no conditions, no catch. Just help. And I know some people will hear that and think it's too good to be true. But the truth is simpler than you think. I've reached a point in my life where money no longer scares me. It no longer controls me. It no longer defines me. I have more money than I will ever spend. More money than my children will ever spend. More money than generations after me will spend. I could ignore suffering for the rest of my life and never feel the financial impact. But I don't want to. I won't. I've built companies. I've created products. I've made investments. I've grown wealth. And none of it felt as real as the moment I first decided to help someone directly. One person, one problem, one solution. Not a charity. Not an organization. Not a fund. Not a foundation. No middlemen. Just me and one human being whose life I could change with a few words and a check. Because something powerful happens when you help someone directly. You feel the impact. You see the relief. You witness the moment a burden lifts from their shoulders. You watch their eyes soften. You watch the tension melt. You watch hope return to a face where it had been missing for far too long. You feel the shift. You feel the humanity. You feel the meaning. Life is too short for anything else. I'm not trying to solve the world. I'm not trying to fix the entire system. I'm not pretending money can solve everything, because it can't. But it can solve this. It can solve the problem you're facing. It can solve the rent that's due. It can solve the medical bill that's crushing you. It can solve the car repair that's blocking you from work. It can solve the debt that's suffocating your hope. It can solve the practical, specific, urgent problem that's standing between you and the life you're trying to build. Money can solve that. And if I have the resources, why wouldn't I use them? I know what some people will say. They'll ask why I'm doing this. Why now? Why this way? Why not donate to charities that help people systematically? Why not contribute to organizations with programs and structures and teams? And the answer is simple. I've done all of that. I've donated to charities. I've funded causes. I've written checks to foundations that promise to make the world better. And I'm not saying they don't help. They do. They matter. They save lives, change lives, support communities, and address systemic issues. But they're also distant. They're abstract. They're slow. When you donate to an organization, you don't get to see the person whose life changed because of your contribution. You don't see the mother breathing easier because her rent was finally paid. You don't see the grandfather smiling because he can finally afford medication. You don't see the single parent fixing their car so they can get to work on time. You don't see the young person relieved that they won't be evicted this month. You don't see the impact. You just trust that it happened. And that's fine, but it's not what I want anymore. I want to feel it. I want to witness it. I want to see the problem and provide the solution. I want to help someone directly, personally, immediately. I want the help to be real, not theoretical. I want the impact to be immediate, not delayed in bureaucratic processes. I want the humanity of it, not the symbolism. That's what this is about. Humanity, directness, connection. The raw, simple, undeniable truth that if one human being has the power to help another, they should. If someone is drowning and you have a life preserver in your hand, you throw it. You don't wait. You don't hesitate. You don't weigh the options. You don't ask if they're worth saving. You don't ask what they'll do for you in return. You just throw the damn life preserver. And right now, people are drowning. Drowning in medical debt. Drowning in overdue rent. Drowning in car repairs they can't afford. Drowning in bills that don't stop coming. Drowning in interest rates. Drowning in stress. Drowning in fear. Drowning in humiliation. Drowning in hopelessness. Drowning in situations that money, a specific, precise amount of money, could fix today. So if I have the life preservers, if I have more than I will ever need, why wouldn't I throw them? Why wouldn't I help? Why wouldn't anyone? The truth is, I could ignore all of this. I could continue life without ever thinking about the struggles of people outside my bubble. I could remain insulated in comfort, surrounded by people who never face the problems most people face. I could live in a world where everything is manageable, where nothing is urgent, where every problem has a solution money can buy. But that's not the world most people live in. Most people live with pressure, with fear, with bills, with deadlines, with consequences. And I'm tired of pretending I don't see that. So I made a decision. A simple decision. A decision that might change your life. A decision that will certainly change mine. Starting tomorrow morning, everything becomes real. Starting tomorrow morning, my assistants will knock on doors. They will verify identities. They will listen. They will confirm stories. They will offer compassion, not judgment. And if your need is genuine, they will hand you the money. Right there, on the spot. Not next week, not next month, not after filling out forms, not after proving 10 different things, not after waiting for approvals, not after speaking to a dozen people. Tomorrow, tomorrow, someone might knock on your door. Tomorrow, relief might arrive. Tomorrow, your problem might end. Tomorrow, the fear you've been carrying might finally break. Tomorrow, the weight might be lifted from your shoulders. Tomorrow, your life might shift in a way you didn't expect, couldn't predict, wouldn't believe if someone tried to explain it to you. But here's the part one need you to understand. None of this happens unless you comment, unless you tell me, unless you write the amount and the reason, unless you're honest, unless you trust this moment enough to take a chance. I know it's hard to ask for help. I know it feels embarrassing, uncomfortable, even painful. Society teaches us to hide our struggles, to pretend everything is fine, to push through silently, to feel shame for needing support. But listen to me. You deserve help. You deserve support. You deserve relief. You deserve a break. You deserve a moment where someone steps in, not because you owe them something, not because they want something from you, but because they simply care. And that's all this is. Me caring. Me helping. Me choosing to use what I have for something that matters. Now, this is just the beginning. This is only part one of the story. There is so much more I want to tell you. About why I'm doing this, about what happened last night, about the moment that changed everything inside me. But for now, I need you to do one thing. Comment the amount and the reason. Be honest. Be specific. Be brave. Tomorrow might be the day your life changes. When I stepped out of that room last night, something inside me changed forever. It wasn't a sudden lightning strike, not a dramatic burst of inspiration, not even a moment of sadness that pushed me. No, it was quieter than that. It was the kind of realization that settles into your bones slowly, like the calm after a long storm. You don't notice the exact second it arrives, but once it's there, it becomes impossible to ignore. I walked down that hallway and felt a weight on my chest, not the kind that crushes you, but the kind that reminds you you're alive and responsible for something bigger than yourself. I kept thinking about all the people whose stories I've heard, all the faces I've seen, tired, defeated, ashamed of struggling. And I realized how unfair life can be. Some people are fighting battles they never asked for, carrying burdens no one sees, drowning quietly in problems they never deserved. And while I can't fix the whole world, I can do something. I must do something. I stood by the window for a long time, looking at the lights of the city below me. Each tiny light, to someone else, is just a dot on the skyline. But to me, each one felt like a reminder that inside those homes are real people, families, dreams, fears, sacrifices, heartbreaks. People who wake up every day and fight to make ends meet. People who didn't choose to struggle, but are forced to. That image stayed with me. Millions of lights, millions of lives, millions of silent battles. And I thought to myself, what's the point of having so much if the world around me has so little? What's the value of success if I can't use it to give someone else a second chance? What's the meaning of life if all I do is win alone? That was the moment I made the decision deep inside. I have to step into people's lives quietly, respectfully, without cameras, without noise, without applause. I want to find those who are on the edge, those 1 or 2 steps away from breaking, and help them breathe again. I want to knock on the doors of people who have forgotten what hope feels like. I want to look into their eyes and tell them, your story is not over. Your life is worth saving. You matter. And I know, most people won't believe it at first. They'll think it's a prank or some trick. Because when life has beaten you enough times, kindness feels suspicious. But I'm ready for that. I'm ready to show them real help still exists. As I kept thinking about it, something very personal hit me. I remembered the time when I had nothing, no stability, no guidance, no one to catch me when I fell. I remembered nights where I didn't know what tomorrow would look like. I remembered the fear, the confusion, the loneliness. People look at me now and they think I've always had everything. But they don't know the chapters of my life that were written in darkness. They don't know the nights I cried silently, wishing for a miracle, hoping someone, just one person, would step in and help me. No one came. And maybe that's why I'm doing this now. Because I know what it feels like to be overlooked. I know what it feels like to suffer in silence. I know the pain of pretending you're okay when you're not. And I refuse to let others pass through that same darkness alone. When I closed my eyes last night, I didn't see money. I didn't see numbers or accounts or wealth. I saw people. I saw the mother holding her child close, trying to hide her stress so the little one doesn't worry. I saw the father counting coins secretly, trying to cover the bills without failing his family. I saw the student crying quietly because he doesn't have the resources to continue his education, even though he has the passion and the talent. I saw the old man who worked his entire life, only to end up alone and struggling. I saw the young girl who wants to follow her dreams, but is stuck because of circumstances she didn't choose. These images flooded my mind, one after another, until I couldn't breathe the same way anymore. And I told myself, if I can change even one of these stories, I must. Today, everything feels different. There's a sense of purpose in my steps, a clarity I haven't felt in a long time. I'm not thinking about what people will say. I'm not thinking about whether this will be misunderstood, and I'm definitely not thinking about credit. I don't want recognition. I don't want my name attached to this in big headlines. I don't want the world to look at me like some hero. None of that matters. What matters is that someone out there who has lost hope will wake up tomorrow and feel like life gave them another chance. What matters is that someone's tears will dry because for once, fate chose them. What matters is that a heart that was breaking will finally rest. So yes, when I said my assistants will go out and find people in need, I meant it with every bone in my body. I want them to search quietly, respectfully, carefully. I want them to find the people who don't ask for help because they're too proud or too afraid. I want them to find the people who keep giving even when they're empty. I want them to find those silent warriors who've been holding their world together with nothing but strength and faith. And when they knock on those doors, I want the people inside to feel something they haven't felt in a long time: relief, safety, hope. This isn't charity. This isn't a project. This isn't a show. This is me fulfilling a promise I made to myself years ago. If I ever get the chance to help people the way no one helped me, I will do it with all my heart. Not for fame, not for praise, but for humanity. For the souls who deserve a chance to breathe again. For the people who deserve light after years of darkness. And today, I'm finally able to keep that promise. This morning, when the sun finally started rising, I sat on the edge of my bed and felt something I hadn't felt in years: a calm certainty. You know how sometimes life gives you a moment where everything just makes sense? That was my morning. There was no noise in my head, no confusion, no doubt. Just a clear, steady purpose. It felt as if the universe itself paused for a second and whispered, "This is the right thing. Go ahead." And for the first time in a long while, I listened without arguing with myself. I got up, walked to the mirror, and just stared at my own reflection. Not the polished version people see online, not the confident image put on display, just me. A human being with flaws, scars, mistakes, and memories that still hurt sometimes. My eyes looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying years of battles that never really left me. But behind that tiredness, there was a fire. A quiet, steady fire that said, "You're ready." I realized that all the pain I went through, all the losses, all the nights of doubt, had shaped me for this exact moment. They didn't break me, they prepared me. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and pictured the world outside. The early morning streets, the shopkeepers opening their shutters, the kids running to school, the tired faces heading to work, carrying responsibilities that weigh more than their own bodies. Life never slows down for anyone. It pushes, it demands, it tests. And too many people are holding on by a thread, hoping someone notices before they fall apart. I've been one of them. I know that feeling of living on the edge, pretending to be strong while everything inside you trembles. That memory is what pushed me to step forward today. After getting ready, I called my team in. Not the big flashy team that handles business, meetings, events. No, I called the small group. The few people I trust with things that matter. They walked in, curious, confused, waiting for instructions. And I told them the truth. I told them everything. How I felt last night, what I realized, and what I've decided. I told them I don't want cameras. I don't want recordings. I don't want to show this to the world. I want them to find real people, real stories, real struggles that need immediate help. Not tomorrow, not next week, today, right now. They looked at me like I had surprised them, maybe even shocked them, because nobody expects someone like me to make decisions like this. But I saw something in their eyes: respect. Genuine respect. Not the kind that's tied to money or position, but the kind that comes from witnessing someone act from the heart. One of them even said quietly, "Are you sure you want to do this without telling the media?" And I said, "Yes, because kindness loses its purity the moment it becomes a performance." They nodded, and I knew then that they understood exactly what this mission meant to me. As the team left the room to prepare for their search, I stayed behind for a minute longer. The silence wrapped around me, almost comforting. I imagined the faces of the people they would meet today. People who have no idea that life is about to hand them a miracle. Some of them might be sitting on the floor, holding their head in their hands, wondering how they will survive another day. Some might be at work right now, forcing a smile while hiding the weight of their worries. Some might be waking up in a small apartment, trying to find the strength to keep going. And by the time the sun sets, their world will change. But even as that thought made me feel hopeful, I couldn't escape the heaviness in my chest. Because I know something most people don't. Helping people is not always easy. It's not always beautiful. Sometimes it's heartbreaking. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes you hear stories that stay with you forever, stories that make you question how people manage to survive so long without breaking. And I'm preparing myself for that. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to feel. I'm ready to carry some of their pain on my shoulders if it means they can stand a little taller tomorrow. I walked toward the window again, watching the sunlight spread across the city. It looked peaceful from a distance, almost like a painting. But I know that behind the beauty, there are cracks filled with silent suffering. And maybe, just maybe, today I can fill a few of those cracks with hope. Not all of them. I'm not a savior. I'm not a superhero. I'm just a human being with the ability to help and the courage to try. Before I left the room, I whispered something to myself. A simple sentence, but one that carries everything I believe in. If someone receives hope today because of me, then today was worth living. That was the promise I walked out with. And with every step I took, I felt the weight of that promise settle deeper into my heart. Today is not about money. Today is not about generosity. Today is about humanity. And humanity starts with me. When I finally stepped outside today, the air felt different, colder, heavier, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Maybe it was just in my mind, but everything around me seemed slower, quieter, almost like the universe was watching what I was about to do. I stood there for a moment, letting the wind hit my face, grounding myself. Sometimes life moves so fast that you forget what reality feels like. You forget the texture of the world, the rawness of it, the unfiltered emotions that exist outside the bubble of your own comfort. I wanted to feel that again. I needed to feel it before taking another step. I walked toward the car, and as the door opened, I paused, because this wasn't just another day. This wasn't a normal meeting or a routine schedule or another busy morning. This felt like the kind of day that becomes a turning point in someone's life. Maybe not just theirs, maybe mine too. I sat down slowly, and for the first few minutes, I didn't say a word. I just watched the streets as we started driving. Watching the people walking fast, holding bags, rushing to catch buses, talking on phones, carrying worries on their faces like invisible weights. And in that moment, something inside me softened again. I realized how disconnected I had become from the real world. Not because I wanted to, but because success sometimes builds walls around you, brick by brick, without you realizing it. As the car moved deeper into the heart of the city, the scenery began to shift. Tall, polished buildings faded into smaller shops, older structures, narrow streets. And with every turn, I felt myself sinking back into a world that felt familiar, too familiar. The kind of neighborhoods I grew up around, the kind of streets where people struggle quietly, where dreams are held together with nothing but hope and tired hands. Looking at those streets brought back memories I had buried for years. I remembered the smell of dust in the air, the sound of children running barefoot, the sight of old men sitting outside small shops, discussing life like they were trying to keep themselves from breaking. I remembered the feeling of wanting more, but having no idea how to get it. As we drove, I saw a woman sitting outside a tiny store with her head down, her hands covering her face. She wasn't crying loudly, just silently, the way people cry when they've cried too much already. It hit me so hard that I turned my face away for a second. Not because I didn't want to see, but because seeing her reminded me of all the moments I felt that exact pain. And I wondered what her story was. What had life taken from her? What was she trying to hold together? And the painful truth is, She doesn't even know that today might be the day her life changes. She doesn't know that someone out there sees her pain, even if she feels invisible. The car stopped at a signal, and I watched a father balancing two small children, one in his arms, one holding his shirt tightly. He looked exhausted. His clothes were worn out, his hair messy, his steps unsteady. But his eyes were full of determination, the kind that only parents understand. That silent promise: no matter what happens, I will protect you. I don't know why, but something about him stayed with me. Maybe because I know the sacrifices fathers make often go unnoticed. Maybe because I've seen that same look in the eyes of the men in my own family. Maybe because I recognized a part of myself in him. The part that carries responsibilities alone, without asking for help. As we continued driving, my phone buzzed. A message from my assistant. "We found someone you need to meet." Those words sent a strange rush through my chest. Not anxiety, not fear, but something heavier. I asked for the address, and the car changed direction immediately. For a few minutes, I didn't speak. I just leaned back and closed my eyes, trying to prepare myself. I didn't know who this person was or what their story would be, but I could feel it already. Something told me this meeting would leave a mark on me. When we reached the street, I stepped out slowly. The air smelled like dust and old memories. My assistant was standing at the corner, waiting for me with a look that said, This one is different." I walked toward him, and he pointed at a small house. Simple, cracked walls, a rusted gate, windows covered with old curtains that barely moved with the breeze. It wasn't the house itself that caught my attention. It was the silence surrounding it. The kind of silence that tells you the people inside have endured too much. Before entering, I took a moment to breathe. I didn't want to walk in like someone bringing charity. I wanted to walk in like a human being who understands pain. I wanted to walk in gently, respectfully, humbly. Because you never know how much courage it takes for someone to allow another person into their suffering. I knocked softly. No answer. I knocked again, a little louder. Then the door opened slowly, and an older woman looked at me, her eyes swollen from crying, her hands trembling slightly. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know why I was there. She just looked exhausted, emotionally drained, physically tired, spiritually broken. I smiled softly and said, "May I come in?" She hesitated for a second, then nodded, stepping aside. As I walked into that small room, I felt something I can't fully describe. It was like stepping into someone's heart, raw, fragile, hurting. And I knew this is why I'm here. This is why today matters. The moment I stepped inside that small room, the weight of reality hit me like a wave. The furniture was sparse and worn, the walls stained with years of life lived without comfort, without ease. There was a quiet dignity in the woman's posture, even though the exhaustion etched deeply into her face told the story of countless sleepless nights, endless worries, and burdens no one should have to carry alone. She looked at me, unsure, hesitant, wondering what this stranger could possibly want from her. I didn't speak right away. I didn't need to. Sometimes silence carries more respect than words. I let her feel my presence. Let her see that I wasn't there to judge, to lecture, or to pity. I was there simply to help. To give her something she had probably been waiting for, praying for, hoping for, without ever expecting it would actually arrive. I sat down at the edge of her table, keeping my distance but offering a connection. I asked her gently, "Can you tell me what you're struggling with?" She hesitated. I could see the shame and pride battling inside her. Pride, that stubborn resistance that keeps so many people from asking for help even when they're drowning. I waited patiently, and after a moment, she spoke. Slowly, her words came like the first drops of rain after a drought. Medical bills she couldn't pay, rent that was overdue, a car that broke down and left her stranded for days. Each word she spoke carried a weight, a heaviness that I could feel in my chest. And with every sentence, I realized something fundamental. These were real problems, real fears, real suffering. And with the resources I have, I could fix all of them today. Right here, right now. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. Cash, the exact amount she needed. The kind of money that, for me, is a tiny fraction of my daily transactions. But for her it was everything. Her eyes widened, disbelief mingling with relief. She didn't speak. She just stared. I placed the envelope gently on the table and said softly, "This is for you. For everything you told me. No strings, no repayment. Just help. And in that moment, the tension in her shoulders melted. Tears rolled down her cheeks, unashamed, unrestrained. She didn't need to say anything. Her eyes said it all. Hope, relief, gratitude, and yes, disbelief that kindness still existed in such a raw, immediate form. As she took the envelope, she whispered, almost afraid the words might vanish. Why would you do this for me? I smiled softly, leaning back and letting the silence hold space for what was happening. Because you matter, I said simply. You deserve help. And if I can give it, why wouldn't I? Those words hung in the air between us, not loud, not dramatic, just human. And for the first time in years, she smiled genuinely. A smile that reached her eyes, freed her for a brief moment from the worries that had defined her life for far too long. After a few moments, I stood up. She clutched the envelope tightly, and I saw something shift inside her. A weight had been lifted. Not all of life's challenges were gone. Not all fears vanished. But the suffocating immediacy of survival had been relieved. I realized then something I've known all along, but had never felt so strongly. The power to change a life is immediate. The impact of helping someone directly, person to person, is undeniable. You see the effect. You witness the transformation. You hear the sighs of relief. You see hope rekindle in a face that had forgotten how to feel it. And you understand, without question, that this is why you exist. As I walked toward the door to leave, she reached out and held my hand. Not for money, not for obligation, not for thanks, but for connection, for recognition that someone sees her, acknowledges her struggle, and is willing to act. That simple touch carried a weight far greater than anything I could have imagined. And it reminded me why I started this journey in the first place. Because it's not about wealth or fame or recognition. It's about humanity. Pure, simple, unfiltered humanity. About showing up for someone when it matters most, when they need it, when the world has otherwise turned its back. As I stepped outside, the sun was shining brightly now. Birds were chirping. The city hummed with life. But something had shifted for me. Everything had shifted. I could feel it in my bones, in my heart, in every step I took. This was bigger than a single act of kindness. This was a movement, a realization that we have the power to directly impact lives, to touch souls, to restore hope, to change futures. And the best part? This is only the beginning. There are hundreds, thousands of stories like hers, stories that need resolution, stories that need intervention, stories that can be transformed by direct, compassionate action. Driving away, I thought about the other people waiting. Parents worried about bills, students struggling to pay tuition, elderly individuals trying to survive on fixed incomes, families unsure how to feed their children this week. All of them were part of the same reality. Life doesn't wait. And now, neither should I. Every moment counts. Every action has weight. And with the resources I have, I can tip the balance for someone, right now, in a way that truly matters. By the time the day was ending, my team and I had visited multiple homes, each one leaving a lasting impression on me. Some tears were shed, some smiles returned, some relief palpable in the air. And with every interaction, I realized the impact goes both ways. Helping someone else lifts something inside of you too. It reminds you why you exist, why you fight, why you continue striving. It's not about recognition. It's not about reward. It's about being human. It's about noticing, caring, acting. And above all, it's about living fully, authentically, meaningfully. When I finally returned home, exhausted but fulfilled, I sat alone for a few moments, reflecting. I remembered the faces, the hands, the voices. I remembered the relief in eyes, the slight quivers of joy, the almost imperceptible lifts in posture. And I thought about life itself, how fragile it can be, how fleeting moments are, how the line between despair and hope is sometimes just a hand reaching out. I realized something profound. The wealth we accumulate, the success we measure, the recognition we chase, none of it truly matters if it isn't used to make a difference when it counts. Not in theory, not abstractly, not someday, but now, today. And I made a promise to myself in that quiet reflection. I will not stop. I will not hesitate. I will not worry about the judgment of others or the skepticism of strangers. I will use what I have to help who I can, when I can, as directly and immediately as possible. Because life is too short. Because hope is too valuable. Because people deserve relief, not lectures. Because compassion is not optional, it's essential. And because every person we help today, every burden we lift, every moment of despair we alleviate, ripples outward in ways we cannot measure, creating a world slightly closer to the one we wish we all lived in. This is why I started. This is why I act. This is why I will continue. Because the impact is immediate. Because the reward is in the human connection. Because the gratitude, the relief, the spark of hope is priceless. And because when we look back, years from now, we will not measure life by what we earned, but by what we gave, by the lives we touched, and by the humanity we preserved. As I sat back, letting the weight of the day settle, I thought about the unseen struggles that will continue tomorrow. Because while today was about meeting a few people, the reality is that countless others are waiting, some silently, some desperately, some afraid to even ask. And it struck me that this is not a one-time act. It's a responsibility. It's the duty of anyone who has the means to help to act. Not tomorrow, not when the timing is right, but immediately, where it counts. I realized that each encounter isn't just about handing over money. It's about restoring faith in humanity, reminding people that there are still those who care, still those who act when they see suffering, still those who refuse to turn away. I thought about the ripple effect. One person's life change today doesn't just stop with them, it flows outward. Their relief allows them to breathe, to think, to act differently. A parent no longer desperate over bills can smile at their child without fear. A student finally able to pay tuition can focus on learning, on creating a future. A family receiving help for overdue rent can sleep tonight without anxiety crushing their chest. And it dawned on me, that ripple continues. Because hope is contagious. Because kindness, once witnessed, inspires more kindness. And I realized that these small, direct acts of help can create waves in ways we can't predict, touching lives we may never even see. I also thought about the skepticism. I know some people will see this and doubt it. Some will think it's a gimmick, a stunt, too good to be true. Some may even try to take advantage. But that's the cost of doing real good. Some may misuse the help, some may doubt its legitimacy, some may never understand. That's inevitable. But I reminded myself that hesitation or fear of being misunderstood should never stop action. Because even if a few people misuse the help, the ones who genuinely need it will feel the impact, and their lives will change. And for them, it is everything. That is why it is worth it. That is why every step, every envelope, every conversation matters. And I reflected on the human element of it all, the connection that money alone cannot capture. Sitting in that room with her today, I realized that the true value wasn't the cash or the bills covered. The true value was the moment, the recognition of struggle, the acknowledgement of humanity, the simple act of saying, I see you. You matter. You're not alone. That connection, that humanity, is what transforms lives. That is what makes people believe again. That is what restores hope. And it's the kind of impact no foundation, no organization, no abstract donation could ever deliver in the same intimate, immediate way. By the end of the day, exhaustion had seeped into every muscle, but it was the good kind of exhaustion, the kind that comes from purpose fulfilled, from meaning created, from action that matters. As I sat in silence, reflecting on the faces, the stories, the tears, and the smiles, I made a vow. I will continue to do this as long as I have the ability. I will continue to reach out directly to those in need, to those who are unseen, to those who have been forgotten. Because the value of wealth is meaningless unless it serves someone who truly needs it. The purpose of power is realized only when it changes lives for the better. And the measure of success, if it is truly human, is found in the lives we touch, the hope we restore, and the humanity we preserve. And with that realization, I understood that this isn't just an act. It's a mission, a way of living, a philosophy. One that says, when you see someone struggling, help. When you have the means, act. When life gives you the power to make a difference, don't hesitate. Don't overthink. Don't wait for someone else to solve it. Step forward. And in doing so, not only do you change the world for them, you change the world for yourself. Because in the act of giving, we discover what it truly means to be human. By the time the evening rolled in, I was sitting quietly in my office, reflecting on everything that had happened. The faces, the stories, the moments of relief, they were all vivid in my mind. And I realized something profound. Today wasn't just about the money I gave or the bills I paid. It was about showing that hope is real, that kindness exists, and that life-changing action doesn't require a massive gesture. Sometimes, it just requires presence, understanding, and willingness to step forward. Each life we touch today is a story rewritten, a burden eased, a heart lifted. And that, more than anything else, is the legacy we leave behind. I thought about the people watching this video right now. Maybe some of you are struggling. Maybe you feel invisible. Maybe you've been waiting for a hand to pull you out of the dark. I want you to know something important. You are not invisible. You are seen. You matter. And if money could solve your problem, truly, genuinely help you, the door could open tomorrow. All you have to do is be honest, be clear, and reach out. Comment the amount you need and why you need it. No embellishment, no exaggeration, just the truth. Because the truth is enough to bring hope, to restore stability, to lift you when you've been weighed down for too long. And for those of you who are watching this and thinking, I'm fine, I don't need help, I ask you to do something else instead. Share this video. Share it with someone you know who may be struggling. A parent, a grandparent, a friend, a neighbor, even someone who won't ask for help themselves. Because there are countless people silently drowning, and you could be the bridge that connects them to relief. Sometimes, a single action, a single share, a single recommendation can save someone's week, month, or even their future. I also want to speak to the people who have resources, who have the ability to make a difference. Don't wait for recognition. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for someone else to lead the way. Act now. Help directly. Help personally. You don't need a giant foundation, a charity, or a program. Sometimes, the most impactful actions are the ones taken immediately, face to face, human to human. And if more people did this, if more people stepped up, imagine the world we could create. A world where wealth isn't hoarded, but used to lift those in need. A world where humanity is restored in the smallest and most profound ways. As I close this video, I want you to remember one thing above all: life is short. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. And if you have the ability to make someone's life better, don't hesitate. Don't question it. Don't delay. The relief you give could change a life today, not someday, not eventually. Today. And when you help someone, you're not just helping them. You're showing them that the world can still be good, that people can still care, that hope still exists. And that, in the end, is the most powerful thing we can offer anyone. So here's what I want you to do. If you need help, comment now. Be honest, be specific, and share your struggle. If you don't need help, share this video with someone who does. And if you're in a position to help others, step forward and do it. Because small acts, done directly, intentionally, and from the heart, create change that ripples across generations. Before I end, I want to leave you with a thought. Imagine a world where each of us, when we see someone in need, reaches out. Imagine a world where kindness is direct, immediate, and real. Imagine a world where hope is never scarce because people refuse to stand by while others struggle. That world is possible, starting today, starting with us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you believe in this vision, subscribe to this channel, not for me, but for what it represents, a commitment to seeing the world, noticing suffering, and acting. Because together, we can create change that matters.